Okay. Hello everyone. Let's keep on doing these session recaps for my Symbaroum campaign. The objective here is just to share what's happening in my campaign and also share the house rules I use, the insights I have about this setting, about the way that Symbaroum can really shine. So I decided to separate these topics in different videos. So this video is just about the session recap. So we're hopping in session 40 of our campaign. And once the group has interrogated Edragar at the prison, they know where Delany is hiding, and they decide to regroup before acting on that knowledge. The snow starts falling really strongly and thickly on Thistlehold. The group, everybody except Lodemé, that is at the temple, they just get some food, go to the shop, eat, reconvene, talk about what's happening and everything. And while they're doing that, Lodemé comes to meet them as well. Or did she? I don't remember. I think not. I think it's written here that she stayed at the temple. And while they were talking, the sun starts to go down. This is winter, so around 4 o'clock, especially in a winter storm, the sun goes down. And something happens in the street. I would say automaton, but I mean the flaming servant Stahl. It's Edeguy's flaming servant is in front of the window of the door, and the little window in the door, and is just he's doing watch duty because they know that the sellswords might want to strike back. They're a bit on edge, and he sees the goblin Beau sees that Stahl reacts to something, so he looks in the little hole to see what's going on in the street. And he just sees somebody, like a young man, running by and going towards the center of the city and eventually towards the Toad Square. And Beau, being the goblin and being not really interested in all those strategizing discussions, opens the door to the shop and just plunges on the street and follows that guy, that young man. Everybody else is sort of surprised what's going on. And the next thing happens, they start following him. Not everyone, but they sort of come in one by one. The first ones to get there are Beau and Wilde. And when they arrive at the Toad Square, there's a darkness on the Toad Square. There's a lot of people gathered around the Toad statue. The Toad statue was vandalized by the sellswords the day before, and the authorities of the city started washing the statue, and the crowd gathering there with flaming brands and everything are being riled up by somebody, and there's something going on there. And also at the salons of Symbaroum, there's a big barroom brawl happening. People are fleeing the salons. The watch from the north gate run to the salons to go try to make some order there. So it's a bit of a chaotic environment that they come upon. There's about 300 people already in this crowd around the statue in the center of the place, and the PCs notice that there's probably 20 or so sellswords of the sun that are identified with yellow armbands and that are riling up the mob and saying, "This can't do. Why are they washing this abomination? The reason that there is darkness and snow over Thistlehold is because the authorities are corrupt," something like that, to that effect. And they even start talking about the fact that there may be elves infiltrated in the city, and that the group, the so-called heroes that caught the Flayer in the previous adventure, the PCs, that they are probably themselves corrupt. And what is Mayor Lassifor doing, and all of that. So Beau, the goblin, once they took that in, goes to the salons to try to know what's going on. He helps a man that was thrown out the window. He heals his he had got his ear torn off, and he heals that guy. And he learns that some sellswords went in the salons and tried to rile up the mob there, and things degenerated, and there was some battle that's still going on. While all of this is going on, inside the mob that is around in the middle of the square, somebody puts up some crates, and Dolany himself walks to the podium, the makeshift podium, to harangue, haranguer in French we say, to rile up the mob. While all of this is happening, Mirizine stayed at the shop to defend because the player wasn't there that week. Mikariol, the mage, the young mage from Alberator, arrives on the scene on his horse, comes close to the mob, listening to Dolany. Dolany is basically accusing the mayor to maybe be consorting with witches and elves, and that the fact that there's this snowstorm upon Thistlehold is a sign that Prios is moving away from them, and that the good people of Thistlehold must purge the evil from the city, and that it's sort of implied that if the authorities don't do it, and that the mayor doesn't do his duty and throw out barbarians, throw out goblins and ogres and all of those people, that they will do it. So it's not open revolt, but almost. And Mikariol rides in and just throws a brimstone cascade at Dolany right away. Dolany he aimed for the podium, for the crates. He didn't want to kill him, but he wanted to shut him up. And so the crates explode. Dolany gets a few hits and falls back into the crowd. Everybody gasps. And what Mikariol did not know is that in the crowd there was some mercenaries from Baumelo's retinue. The mercenaries of Baumelo have faced the PCs at the beginning of Mark of the Beast. They got whomped pretty hard, so they know the PCs are very strong, and they are there to give a lending hand to the young firebrands of the sellswords of the sun. And so they're discreet. They're in the crowd, but they're discreet. They're armed with crossbows. They put poison on their crossbow bolts because they know that these people are dangerous. So as soon as Mikariol throws the brimstone cascade, 2 crossbow bolts are fired at him, and one hits him hard and poisons him, and all hell breaks loose. So he's trying to maneuver his horse to try to get away from the mob that's yelling at him and pulling at him, and he's wounded and he's taking hits because of the poison. While that happens, Vild the ogre stays in the darkness. He's not close to the mob, so there's no fire. He's in the darkness of the square. Nobody really notices him, and he's afraid to step in because these people want blood, and they want goblin and ogre blood primarily. So he just stays there and watches, completely distraught. But while that happens, Lodome arrives. Somebody went to get her at the temple, and so she arrives on her horse like a real Templar, and she goes to her cousin's aid, and they start just fighting their way through the mob, taking crossbow bolts, and it's really, really intense and dense. Beau, the sneaky goblin, sneaks in the crowd, goes behind one of the mercenaries of Baumelo and backstabs him to death. So it was pretty grim. And they flee. They flee the square. As they flee, Mikariol blocks the main street out of the square with a wall of fire, and they escape. After that, that was pretty cool too. The Beau, when Beau tried to escape, because of course he got noticed once he had backstabbed a guy, he sort of dodged everybody using survival instinct and just grabbed onto the horse of Lodome as they were riding out. So that was pretty neat. and Vil just leaves he's alone. Nobody noticed him. He just walks away from another side street, and everybody goes back to Edogai, to the shop, and they say, okay, we need to get out of here. The mob is going to come. So they decide to go to the town watch compound for security. They go through the snow in the darkness, and they try to avoid some groups of youngsters that are pretty riled up. Nothing too dangerous yet because they've got some head start. And they they pass in front of the mission of Father Sarvella on their way to the prison and the compound. And the mission is burning, like it's completely aflame. Of course, during the mob in the Toad Square, it was also a diversion for the attack on the mission. So some firebrands went to the mission and put the mission on fire. The PCs should have been there to defend it. That was what Deseba told Lodeme to do, but they didn't. And the mission was completely burned to the ground. Sarvola escaped. He's very weakened and wounded. He inhaled a lot of smoke, and he's somewhere at some of his disciples' house. And so they witness that, and they go to the barracks. In the barracks, they find that the watch is, waking everybody up. Everybody's sort of rank and file in the courtyard. Marvello is there, Decamedo is there. They're yelling orders. They're preparing to get out to stomp the mob. They're preparing to walk out. And so somebody directs them to the barracks, and they lend them some space in the barracks to gather their wits. So they stay there for a while, and they're waiting for news from Sarvola or an officer or somebody. Everybody takes a break, and Wild uses the pipe to do the clairvoyance ritual to know what's going on outside in the rest of the city. He starts by the Witch and Familiar, the Tavern of the Barbarians, because the tavern had been the target of vandalism. So they're all worried that the mob will go there and burn that down. And when he looks in the vision, he sees that there is in fact a small mob outside, and that inside all the barbarians that are living there, plus Alomar, are just staying put in the darkness, weapons out, ready to defend themselves if need be. And everybody is sort of shook by this knowledge, and they decide to run out in the city and go help the barbarians at the Witch and Familiar. And that is how session 40 ends. So just as closing words, I just want to say that it's basically what I was doing during that session is speeding up the sellsword quest build-up. So because of the actions of the PCs that successfully took a second prisoner, but an important one, Edragar, the Dolani decided to act right away because he was afraid that Edragar would spill the beans. So they decided to torch the mission and to have this mob, even though the situation, the blizzard isn't that bad yet, but he's an agitator, so he knows how to speak, he knows how to present things worse than they are, and that's what he did. And so a lot of the population of Thistlehold that is, let's say, scared Prius worshippers, were very ready to hear those words. And 300 people is quite a mob, but it's not the whole city, so it's still not a complete insurrection. It's just a sect of fanatics that is trying to get bigger, and so that's basically what I did in that session. When that young man, 20-year-old, went by, then after that there were some other neighbors trying to take some news, what's going on, and bit by bit the PCs were going to know that there was this mob in the Toad Square. I didn't I didn't know if they would go there. I thought they might go to Sarvola's mission to protect them. I don't know. I never predict what the PCs will do, but that was the setup. And also the commotion in the salons of Symbaroum I wanted to use as that's the commotion where Anadea sort of loses it. She finds that these extremists, the sellswords, are just the proof that she can't be part of this church anymore. And so that's behind the scenes, but that's where she decides to leave the church, and she will not be seen at the church from then on. So if they went in the salons, they could have met her, they could have seen her and her friend, and so it's just like different things that I planted in this session that the PCs could interact with, but I didn't know where they would go. So once the game is on, they're leading the story. So there you go. So that was session 40. I will do the same thing for the next sessions. I have 5 more to go. So I wish you a very nice summer of gaming. If you want to support this channel, don't forget to go check out my adventure playing with goblins on Drive-Thru RPG. We need 5 more sales to get to silver level. That would be great. And there you go. Leave some comments and share, and see you soon. Bye-bye.